Greetings and salutations, Greek students. We continue our study of the Greek language by looking at participles, particularly aorist active participles. And what I want to do is translate some examples so you can see what these look like in example sentences. So this is from Clayton Croy's lesson 19. This is the practice and review sentences. I'm going to do 3 examples. So example number 1 is practice and review sentence number 4. I'll read it in Greek, break it into its constituent parts, and then we'll look to translate these aorist active participles. Kathe santas tu didaskalou epi lithon haaklos hapinon oinon erkato akusai autu. So in this instance, we have a string right at the beginning of these aorist, not a string of aorist, but a string of genitives, right? Kathe santas. And so as we're still learning, this is the genitive singular, also connect with the genitive singular to didaskalou, followed by ha aklos ha pinon. So we have a nominative singular masculine ha aklos ha pinon, the crowd, the one drinking. So what it looks like when we see this example of the genitive participle right at the beginning, followed by a genitive definite article and a genitive noun, or sometimes a genitive pronoun, what we're going to be looking at is a genitive absolute, and that's precisely what we have here. So when we have these genitive absolutes, this genitive definite article and noun become the subject to the participle. Kathe santas is the aorist active participle. It's genitive singular masculine from, if we're going to look this up, kathidzo. I sit. Kathidzo. That's where we get our word cathedral. And so the didaskalou, we're going to say after, because this is aorist. So after the teacher sat on a lithon, stone, now we have our main subject followed by a verb, series of verbs. So haaklos, this is our nominative singular masculine noun. Haaklos, the crowd. Hapinon. Here, the hapinon is a example of the adjective use of the participle. It's describing which aklos, which crowd are we talking about? We're talking about the one that is pinon, the one is drinking. This is a nominative singular masculine present active participle from pino, I drink. So this is the crowd drinking, or while drinking, or the crowd who was drinking, the crowd who is drinking wine, oinon, direct object, began. So after the teacher sat on the stone, the crowd drinking wine, erxata. So this is from erxata, the verb arco. I begin, I rule. And so it's an aorist. You can see the epsilon prefix plus the alpha makes it ake. And then the key plus the sigma has become ksi. So erxata, this is the sa, se, saman, sata, sadi, san. The sata middle verb. Remember, the aorist has a different middle form and a different passive form. So this is the aorist middle of arco. Sato. So The crowd drinking wine began, aorist, to akuo, listen. Now, akusai, this is an aorist active infinitive from the verb akuo. Remember, in the infinitive, just like in the participle, the epsilon prefix disappears. So you don't have, like you would in erxato, the epsilon prefix. You simply it doesn't go into the past. This is the infinitive, aorist infinitive. Began to listen. Now, this is an interesting example. Akuo is that one of those odd verbs that can take the genitive as its direct object, and it kind of is built into the verb of akuo. You hear of something. And so began to listen, we would probably translate this to him, even though we might go to him. We would expect out to be in auto in the dative. But it's in this instance, it's you listen of him or listen. The listening is auto. It's about him. That is the teacher, probably from the previous clause. So in this case, kathe santas to didaskulu epi lithon. The subject of this sentence is ha-aklos, the crowd, the drinking crowd that began to listen. That's the subject of the sentence. But in the context of the crowd drinking and beginning to listen, it was after the teacher sat on the stone. And so this is a genitive absolute where it's setting up the context for the rest of the sentence. Let's look at another example here. Practice and review sentence number 8. Elthantos tu prophetu eis tein synagogein hai gunaikas kai kathizu sai en ekeno to tapo apon thelamen irein tas keras hemon kai doxadzain ton kurion. So immediately, one of the things that should stick out to you as you're looking at the sentence, one, that's quite long, and you can break it up into its constituent parts where you go, okay, here's the first part of my sentence. I want to set it apart before the apon there at the end. And I want to see, okay, elthantos tu prophetu. Notice this genitive singular, elthantos. Now, elthon, remember, is the principal part. It's the second aorist form, oddly, of erkomai. Now, you're going to see this a lot, so it's worth, this is one of the few principal parts of the second aorist that's really worth knowing. The use of when elthon becomes erkomai. So again, elthon is from erkomai, I come, I go. And so in this instance, elthon tos. Now remember in those second aorists, when you have those second aorists, they're going to take the present active forms of the participles. It'll look like a present active participle on its ending, that ontos, genitive singular, on ontos, onti, onta, those masculine singular genitive present active participle, but it's not present active participle because of the stem change from erkomai to elthon. So this is going to be a genitive singular masculine aorist active participle from erkomai, elthantos tu prophetu, and the tu prophetu, again, you have that genitive singular definite article followed by a noun. This is a genitive absolute. It's being set off from the rest of the sentence. And again, where's our subject? The hai gunaikas, hai kathidsusai, the women, the ones sitting. So this is our subject, and everything before our subject here, eis tein synagogein, is the part of the genitive absolute. So remember, when you have these genitive absolutes, the genitive definite article and the genitive noun or pronoun is going to identify the subject of the participle. So the prophet, so probably after, because we have this aorist participle, after the prophet came eis into the synagogue. And remember, in these genitive absolute phrases, you're still going to see direct objects in the accusative. You're still going to see prepositional phrases. They're going to be in their normal case. So not everything's going to be in the genitive case, but you're going to see this definite article, in this case, a direct object from a prepositional phrase into the synagogue. So the main subject now we can get to, hai gunai case, hai kathi suzai. So the women, the women sitting, kathi zusai, this is the present active participle, feminine, plural. The women who are sitting, en ekeno to tapo, in that place, said upon, and what did they say? We're just going to go past this line here. Thelomen irein tas keras hemon kai doxadzain ton kurion. Thelomen, we want. Thelomen is from the verb thelo, I want, I desire, and it's first person plural, present active indicative. So it's just describing, this is what we want. This is their speech. We want irein, to take up, and irein here is from the verb iro. I lift up, I take up. To take up or lift up. Actually, this is going to be lift up based on what we're talking about. We want to lift up tas keras hemon, the hands of us, or our hands. The hands of us. And again, a present active infinitive from doxadzo, I glorify, and that ain ending is the present active infinitive, just like iro has that present active infinitive. And to glorify, ton kurion, the Lord. So this is an example where you've got the aorist participle, elthontes, to prophetu, as one of those genitive absolutes after the prophet came into the synagogue. And quite a bit more here in terms of describing. Then you have the rest of the participle, the kathi zusai, that present active participle, sitting, describing, functioning as an adjective. Which women are we talking about? The sitting women, sitting in that place. And what did they say? They said, we want to lift up our hands and to glorify the Lord. One more example. This is sentence number 11. Ha anthropos ha parlabon, basileon kai boulamenos, gnoskein peri autes e pempse doulos, blepein autain. So in this instance, we have the subject, ha anthropos ha parlabon. Now, parlabon is a present active, it's not present active, it's aorist active. It's from para lambano. And so that para lambano, paralab, there's a stem change. And so this is one of those second aorists. And so it's going to look like the ending here is that on, usa, on, that present active participle ending, but it only looks like a present active participle because the ending, but the stem has changed. So this is actually a second aorist. So the man who has received, and again, it's who has received because this is a adjectival use of the participle. It's describing the anthropos, the man who has received basileon, a kingdom, not the kingdom, but a kingdom, or kingdom. And this is from Bulamai. I want, I desire. And will, wanting, desire. Boulamai, boulamenos. So this is the masculine present middle participle, and it's middle because it's deponent, and who has received a kingdom and wanting, not wanting, but wanting, genoskein, to know, periautes, about it, a pempse. This is from the verb pempo, I send, and we have this epsilon prefix. Now, whenever we see that epsilon prefix, that should be a dead giveaway that we're looking at one of two tenses in the indicative. We're looking at either the imperfect or we're looking at the aorist. Now, how do we tell the difference? Look, we have this P plus the sigma has become psi, and whenever we see that sigma, that's going to be the sign of the aorist. So the P plus the sigma has become psi, and so a pempse is to know about, so he wants to know about it. The autes here refers to the kingdom. That's why autes is feminine singular, because it is agreeing with the antecedent in gender and number. So he wants to know about it, that is, about the kingdom. The man who has received a kingdom and wanting to know about it sent slaves, doulos, sent slaves to see it. And again, the it here, the autein, feminine singular, refers back to the basileon. So the one who has received a kingdom and wanting to know about it sent slaves to see it. So we have the parlabon is that aorist active participle functioning adjectively. It's describing the man, the anthropos, the person, the man who has received a kingdom. Which one are we talking about? The one who received a kingdom and is wanting to know about the kingdom. He sent slaves to it, that is, to the kingdom that he wants to know